For the longest time, we've been staring at the Boruto versus Jura fight like it's a giant neon sign that is screaming, "Final boss of the Shinju saga ahead." Boruto manga fans are basically the guy in the horror movie that is pointing at the obvious suspect while the actual killer is standing behind them holding a chair. But what if the biggest twist isn't that Boruto defeats Jura? What if it's that he can't bring himself to do it and Kawaki steps in without losing a single second of sleep? Because the more that Boruto 2 Blue Vortex unfolds as a story, and the more we see the layers to Jura's character, this looks less like the story of one hero killing the ultimate villain that's been built up, and more like two brothers who are reaching completely different answers to the exact same question, and how it may cause a further rift between the two, even though both of them understand Jura needs to go. Join me in today's newest Naruto Explained video where your OBC, your original Boruto chief, takes a look at why Boruto vs. Jura is being set up for a subversion of our expectations and how it was all set up in the last two chapters of Boruto's manga, with the seeds for this being planted as far back as Boruto's first fight with Jura. Also, if you're into Bleach, don't forget to head over to my Anime Explained channel for the all 28 Bankai in Bleach Explained video, which is over an hour long, juicy Bleach lore that covers the Bankai you've seen in the anime and manga and the Bankai revealed in the light novels that are set after the war. Video will be linked in the end credits and description box, and I strongly recommend watching it if you're curious about Bleach. Lastly, since Boruto's manga is on break in August, we'll be dropping a few videos that were Patreon exclusive the last few months, like the Kaguya and Kakashi videos and the Iwabi videos that we've been sitting on, as well as like the Obito video and others that I've been waiting on, like the Hagoromo and Hashirama videos. All of that'll be to get you through this 1 month break, so it won't just be Boruto manga discussions like this one. One of the things I love about how Boruto 2 Blue Vortex has approached writing on a fundamental level is that it will tell you exactly where the story is going, and then it will slowly change what the destination actually looks like. It won't be drastic, but it'll be a bunch of small decisions that leads you to believe one thing is coming, and while the end result might be what was teased, it comes with a few twists that you didn't expect to happen. The story has begun doing that with this current arc, but to understand how it was done, we have to circle back to the flash forward sequence, the very important flashback as well that we got in volume 4 of the story. So we'll start there. In chapter 13, in the flashback, Kashin Koji told Boruto about the threat of Jura, how he saw millions of timelines and everything was the same. Jura is born and the world dies. How we got there was different in every timeline. In some timelines, omnipotence never happens and Code captures Kawaki and he feeds him to the Ten Tails. In other timelines, Ishiki kills Naruto and feeds Boruto to the Ten Tails and revives using Kawaki's body. In others, Boruto is a rogue ninja after omnipotence and lives to be as old as 19 years old in some timelines, and ultimately is killed by Jura, particularly in the timelines where Boruto tries to save Sasuke. There's a common theme. Jura exists in all of them based on everything Koji said in that chapter and the most recent chapter. Yet, what Koji remained clear on was that Boruto was the only one who could defeat Jura. That part wasn't up for debate. Koji ran all the calculations, and Boruto was the only one who could do it. Even Kawaki fell short, ultimately, despite all of his upgrades. Our only question since then has been, how will Boruto defeat Jura? It's why when authors decide to use the craft technique that gets referred to as giving away the goods, where you relay a major plot point of the story, in particular, say the conclusion up front, it builds in instant conflict. You know where the story is headed, but you don't know how it is that we get there. Stories like Boruto take that method. They don't follow a linear path. They use stuff like the flash forward sequence to do this as well. It doesn't cheapen the story, because if it did, things like omnipotence, that event that left the majority of fans absolutely stunned, brought in a lot of casuals on this side of the world who had briefly dropped the manga, said, wait a second, what happened? Let me check this back out. And it wouldn't have pulled in a ton of fans over in Japan who dropped this series and picked it back up when Shueisha ran the Boruto versus Konoha promotions in Shibuya, and Boruto's digital manga sales as a result began to start rising. It doesn't make us give Amado any less of a side eye like we've been doing in the story so far. His golden ticket was reviving Akibi via Kawaki's karma, yet now we know it never comes that. Kawaki dies in every future timeline. Akibi is never revived. To Amado, that's like being told you climbed Mount Everest carrying your life's work on your back, only to be told by someone that the bridge leading to the summit where you're supposed to present at is going to collapse in every future. Do you turn back? No, you just build a better bridge. That better bridge, coupled with Boruto's seeming destiny to defeat Jura, they go hand in hand. If you can't tell from the example, that bridge is obviously Kawaki. Jura is a threat. Amado just potentially got his hands on 10 directions. He now potentially is seeing every possible future. He now potentially knows that Kawaki is going to fail. He knows based off of Kashin Koji's words, but now he may see the other timelines. Koji has chosen his Pokemon in Boruto. Amado has chosen his Pokemon in Kawaki. Jura is the gym leader, and they are racing to take down that gym leader first. One is feeding the Pokemon a bunch of rare candies, that obviously being Amado and Kawaki. The other one is basically farming XP to level up the old-fashioned way, that obviously being Kashin Koji and Boruto. Yet for as much as it seems that it's been assumed that Boruto will be the one to take down Jura, I would say don't be so certain. Boruto clearly has a strong hate for Shinju. It's strong enough that when he called Jura a tree, I joked in the review that he said tree with the hard R-E-E at the end with enough racism that Tobirama looked up at Boruto and said he felt that hatred deep in his soul and that it moved him. To Boruto, it was black and white. The Shinju aren't people. They're world-ending threats. Boruto is the hero. He eliminates threats. To Boruto, those Shinju stand in the way of him saving Sasuke. They stayed in the way of him making up with Kawaki and bringing the Uzumaki family to be back whole again. Matsuri was made out of Moegi's chakra. She favored her a bit when you look at her features. It didn't matter. Boruto didn't hesitate to kill her. The same with Momushi. The same when he fought Hidari. He paused briefly, seeing someone look so similar to Sasuke, but Boruto went right for it when the time came. When he fought against Jura, who wasn't made from any human, Boruto fought more savagely. Jura wasn't a human, and the irony is that out of all the Shinju that Boruto faced, Jura was the one who showed the most human characteristics of all the others. He was evolving faster. He was asking questions. He'd been seeking out answers about love, knew what love was and wanted to know more, even though, unlike the other Shinju, he isn't modeled after humans, and he doesn't have any real lingering attachment to love from a prior point in life. Yet in chapter 35, that changed all of that. Jura began to show attachments towards Hidari. He doesn't realize it, but what he described when he said he had a sad feeling of thinking about a world where Hidari didn't exist anymore, that is a feeling that comes from forming an attachment with somebody. That is a feeling you get when you begin to grow love for someone. It's the story tackling a question that Boruto's anime attempted to do a few times. Even Masashi Kishimoto tried it in the Naruto epilogue chapters that dealt with the Shin Uchiha clones and Orochimaru's speech, which, reminder, that's not an Ikimoto story. It got adapted in Boruto's anime, but that is a Naruto story. Same with Mitsuki's one-shot where he used Sage Mode against Orochimaru. That is a Kishimoto story. When Orochimaru gave that speech to Naruto and Sasuke about cloning, you saw some of those vibes there. Can unnaturally synthetic-born humans have souls, or are they just copies of what they're made from? Are they just an embodiment of a collection of genetics? Are their feelings their own, or are they predisposed to the feelings of their original? The Ten Tails is supposed to be a mindless beast, yet Jura seeks out knowledge. He's the antithesis of what you would expect a Ten Tails to be. Now he's seeking answers to love, and he may already have it in his possession, just not know it. Love and hate are not emotions that we are born out the womb knowing how to feel. Their emotions we learn based on the bonds we create. A child bonds with their mother and father. If one day someone murders that mother and father, that child hates the person who took their parents away from them. Jura has a similar bond with Hidari. Notice how the manga made it a intentional point to give Jura more panel time with Hidari than any other Shinju. Even before the rest were eliminated, Hidari and Jura spent the most time together. That was intentional. That was a setup. That was a Chekhov's gun placed on the table. Now we are potentially in the arc where that Chekhov's gun finally gets fired off. That comes in the form of Hidari dying. When that occurs, we're going to see a different side of Jura potentially. If we see that side, so too will Boruto. In Boruto's experiences, the Shinju haven't been emotional creatures. If he sees Jura mourn the loss of Hidari, Boruto is smart enough to connect it back to his past conversation with Jura and his fascination about love. Suddenly, that damn tree stops being a tree to Boruto. It runs the risk of being viewed as something more complicated. Boruto might even see a tree can have a soul. If it didn't have a soul, how could it mourn or be enraged at the loss of a loved one? Kashin Koji knows that. Go back to what he said when Bug died. He told Boruto he was just another bad guy. Don't mourn him. Yet, that's what Boruto did. If Boruto can feel for a stranger who was a bad person, someone who was once an enemy, the same is possible here, even when knowing Jura is a world-ending threat, because at the end of the day, he is still Naruto's son. In today's world, that may seem odd, given we have grown so distant from one another, especially due to the rise of AI and social media. But there was a time where compassion and empathy were real feelings that people felt. It's not all this division that we have now. Going back to Naruto, Naruto knew what would happen if Obito got his way. Yet Naruto had moments where he choked up realizing Obito's pain. Even Kurama had to tell Naruto basically the same thing that Koji told Boruto. Stay focused on the task at hand and on the bigger picture. Yet for people who are predisposed to be sensitive to the pain of others, people that have a strong sense of empathy for others, that's impossible. That's like telling me not to be attracted to a woman that is curvy and is between 5'7" and 5'9" and is in really good shape because she works out. That's absolutely impossible. I am going to simp for her right on spot. What isn't impossible though is someone else being in that position who has no problem killing someone, even if they are in mourning or they show human emotions. Kashin Koji isn't the only one who does calculations. Amado lives for calculations. One could even say Amado is a walking calculation based on how logical he is. If there comes a moment where Boruto falters, Amado won't hesitate to amp up Kawaki's power well beyond that 100% threshold he's at. He now has no choice, because nothing he did in the other timelines was enough to have Kawaki take down Jura. Kawaki himself, if he ever learns that he dies in every battle against Jura, he's going to demand more power as well. Failure isn't an option, particularly when two people working together are consequentialists at heart. Whoever or whatever they have to trample over to get their way, to get their objective cleared, so be it. Right now, the story is building a slow case for Kawaki to catch up and be the one who comes out of nowhere to strike down Jura when that battle comes. Not because Boruto isn't the hero. Instead, it's because Amado is likely already going to take fate into his own hands, and by extension, so too will Kawaki. Both have way too much invested and potentially shared knowledge that Jura will kill Kawaki otherwise. Defeating someone and killing someone are not the same thing. Even if you do kill them, their ideals, their ideology, they live on long after their death. Naruto's manga has already taught us that lesson. Boruto's manga has been reteaching lessons from Naruto's manga to a new generation of fans such as yourself with a twist that is added to them. This is another one. Jura may go down, but his impact will still linger. Potentially his death if Boruto does see a human side to Jura before or during their battle, and sees how coldly Kawaki was able to dismiss that one ray of humanity and kill him without a second thought. It's not by mistake that we are seeing Jura eating soup with Shikamaru, drinking with Shikamaru. Something is happening to Jura. Then again, Boruto is way more mature than Naruto was at age 17. That Naruto, when he saw Kaguya's emotions, he was able to look past them and did what needed to be done. No hesitation. When Zetsu said that it was time to plot his quote next resurrection of mother, end quote, Naruto went, there's no need for that, threw Zetsu's body into the six-pass Jibaku Tensei in order to ensure that no resurrection would happen. What we're seeing with Ikimoto doing is he's dabbling with Jura, understanding love, and it's a new take of what Naruto's manga did. Tailed beasts were described as natural disasters at first, then as monsters, then as weapons. Eventually we learned that they had souls of their own. They cried, they felt pain, they laughed. They were every bit as human as the very people they were sealed inside of. Jura might serve as Boruto learning that lesson about these Shinju, because at the end of the day, Jura is modeled after the Ten Tails. The Ten Tails, albeit different from what we saw in the war, is ultimately still a tailed beast. Boruto inherited the same flaw or gift depending on your perspective. The same gift that Naruto had, being able to see the hearts of people, no matter how scummy they were. Boruto gained that skill, not because Naruto sat him down by a chalkboard and lectured him. It came from being a child walking in the footsteps of two parents who possessed that strong ability to feel the hearts of others. Children learn that compassion from their parents. Naruto taught it to Boruto daily with Naruto's actions. Kawaki, on the other hand, was never taught that as a child. By the time Naruto tried to teach him that, too many bad things had already been drilled into Kawaki's head. 6 months is not enough time to deprogram someone that has gone through years of gaslighting and suffering and brainwashing like that. That's why Kawaki sees the world through absolutes. If the end justifies the means, then so be it. Protect Naruto, even if everyone, including Naruto's son, needs to die. He won't hesitate when it comes to Jura if Kawaki has powered up enough via Amado's experiments. But if Boruto does feel some empathy for Jura, the question we have to ask is, does that cause a furthering of the divide we see between brothers, particularly if Kawaki notices some slight hesitation in Boruto? If that's where Ikimoto has taken the story, then Jura's death won't just conclude the Shinju arc. It will officially begin the ideological war between Boruto and Kawaki. Not over strength, not over destiny, not over omnipotence, not even over Naruto, but over a single question that has followed this franchise since chapter 1 of Naruto. When someone stands at a crossroads between monster and human, do you save them, or do you make sure they never get a chance to be a monster ever again? Naruto was in that crossroads, and you saw it with Iruka, and you saw it with that scumbag that tried to set Naruto up to be killed by all the villagers by saying that he stole that scroll. And if that's the question that Boruto 2 Blue Vortex wants its readers debating after Jura falls, then the story will have accomplished something far greater than delivering another spectacular final battle for the Shinju saga. It will have delivered a conflict where the hardest punch isn't the one that lands on someone's face. It will be the one that lands on your own beliefs. Obviously, if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing and clicking on the left, check out this chapter review for 2 Blue Vortex, or click here on the right, check out that Bleach video that I was just talking about earlier.